Well, hello.
Hello, nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too. So, you have a very controversial presence on the internet, as I'm
Yeah,
aware.
it just
With
keeps
you.
getting like worse.
So, I mean, you know how this started, right? I mean, I'm sure it started beforehand for you, but you made a video that went viral, and people had some feelings about it.
Yeah, I made it right in this room. The Cuties review, the infamous Cuties review.
Well, do you film like all your videos there, or is it just that specific one happened to be filmed in that room?
No, I try to film my videos in all different kinds of places. This is just like my office, so this is my like kind of default spot to film stuff.
Um,
But
I guess. Oh no, I'm sorry. I was just was gonna ask when you were filming that video, like what came across your mind? Why did you film it? And I think the thing that people really want to know is like, were you being serious in that review? Were you joking? What parts were comedy? What parts were
so
I actually feel this way?
there's a disturbing thing happening where like I have a bunch of new fans who are convinced that it's satire. It's not satire. I don't understand how people think that. So
That's how
satire
I
is
feel.
yeah, satire is when you take something and then you exaggerate it for the purpose of like critiquing it or mocking it, right? So like I don't know what like nobody makes movie reviews like that. I don't understand. It's not there's nothing like that is there to mock. So it's not
Yeah,
satire.
I guess
Um
people. Sorry, no, you keep going.
no, you keep going.
I was just gonna say, I guess it's just so extreme that people don't believe that it's real. People don't
I,
believe that somebody
so
actually
that's another
believes
thing.
it.
Yeah, that's another thing is I don't think it's extreme. I don't think it's that extreme or weird. I really don't get the reaction to it. Like I intellectually understand the reaction to it, but it's very odd to me. Um, I think that we there's like a weird alternate universe that we live in on YouTube or maybe on social media where everybody's super normal and nobody has any strange or uncomfortable thoughts or feelings and everything makes sense and everyone is expected to make videos that just are like supposed to make themselves look normal and nice and then reinforce the rules that we know and that we love and like when someone does something that is not that everyone completely loses their shit. That's my take.
I Here's the thing, because I did a previous video about commentary channels, and I do agree to an extent that when there's a topic that people cover, a lot of people will tend to want to cover the same people and talk about the same arguments.
And in the
I
same way.
I agree to a certain extent, right? But there's also a thing whereas I feel like if you just went to people in real life and shared the exact same opinions that you shared on YouTube, I think you get a pretty similar response.
No,
I don't think.
I haven't. Do you think my life is full of people telling me that they're gonna kill me or that they're gonna call the FBI
No,
on me because of my movie review? Like no.
of course not. And
Like
I would
well,
never
like
condone
what?
those things. Those are awful.
So really, you're telling? No, I'm not saying. I'm not even saying the things. I'm saying the mindset. Like, do you think that when my friends see my Cuties review, they're like, dude, bro, like you really need help, man. I don't. Some of the stuff you're saying like isn't normal. Like, no, they're people I've known for like 20 years. Like, they're not. That no one is having that reaction.
So then, what do your friends think of your videos? Do they like, oh, this is cool. I agree with you. Like, are they
There's
respect the disagreements or?
no, there's stuff they disagree with me on. There's stuff where they're like, most of them are more liberal than me, or slightly more liberal. So like they're kind of like they'll be offended by something, or they'll just say something stupid, or that I'm being closed minded. But like it's all in it's a very casual kind of disagreement. It's not like no one has flipped out or been surprised by anything I have said.
Interesting. So it looks like you have pretty close friends who will stand by you in your videos that you post. And
Yeah, and
it's
I got
interesting.
Shaylin. I got my girlfriend. You know, she's very I mean she loves the Cuties review. She's a huge fan.
The thing about the video is you admit that you think that like the film is intended for people to look at the actors a certain way, and I don't believe that was the intention of the filmmaker.
You're wrong. You're wrong. So I'm not saying that the film is trying to make you like comfortably turned on by kids. Like I don't think the filmmaker's saying like, hey, like if you like little kids, you're gonna love this movie. I think the movie is supposed to make you realize that you are capable of, or that you even already sexualize children, and that this can be very harmful to them, and basically show the effect that that has on kids when we have beauty pageants and TikTok and dancing and whatever. To kind of take that, the most kind of shocking version of that, and then throw it in your face. And I think what she's throwing in your face is your own propensity to participate in that stuff, which again is bad for kids. Like I also don't get the idea that I'm trying to normalize it. Like the review is weird. If I were trying to normalize sexualizing kids, I would go about it completely differently. I would have a beauty pageant. I would be like, I would have kids dressed up as little princesses and talk about how like cute and innocent they're. Like that's the stuff that normalizes sexualizing kids, not like being creepy in your office. I don't understand that.
I do agree on the pageants thing, and I think that's the thing a lot of people are starting to realize is that pageants are weird, and that hey, maybe we shouldn't dress kids up in that way. But at the same time, like with the filmmaker, I think the filmmaker is also trying to express that, and I agree to a certain extent. But I don't think the filmmaker, their intent was for adults to watch it and think, certain things about the people acting in these films. I think the intention was, hey, they shouldn't be doing this stuff. This is wrong.
Well, so do you agree that a lot of people can be okay? So the girls in the film are 12 to 14 years old.
Yeah, and I haven't watched the movie, by the way. I've only seen
so then why don't you take your fucking opinions and go to Netflix and watch the movie?
Because it's uncomfortable.
5 times. So that's the whole point. It's uncomfortable to you. That's like. No, you can't. You don't. Okay, well then don't talk about it. If it's uncomfortable to you, then why are we talking about it? If it's not uncomfortable to you, then I think you should subject yourself to the discomfort, because I'm tired of fucking hearing people's opinions about my review about a movie they haven't seen, and arguing with people about the point of the movie when you haven't even seen it.
Well, there's other things that's not just your movie, because I think that there's a lot more to
It's not my movie, my video.
Then your video, yeah, sorry.
That's the other thing, is people start treating me like I directed the fucking movie.
No, I know. But I think what happened was people just saw your video and they basically attributed you as like the face of...
No, they didn't even see my video. Yes, I've become the face of Cuties.
Yeah.
Because I'm accessible, and you can say mean stuff to me and I'll hear it, because I don't have that many subscribers. I cannot wait to float above that one day and look
your
down
channel
at
is
the
growing.
Peasants. It is growing.
And you have a lot of fans.
I do. I have a lot of anti-fans, though. Probably more anti-fans than fans.
Wait, you have more likes and dislikes in a lot of videos, and that kind of surprises me. I mean, I think you're a good filmmaker, and I've seen some of your songs. I think you actually have pretty good rapping skills too. It's like, I think you're talented in what you do.
Thank you.
I understand why people are attracted to your channel. I have friends who are like fans of you.
Oh, thank you. Oh yeah, I think one of them commented and was like, "Do a collab."
Yeah, that was them.
Yeah.
They wanted me to bring them up in this, so yeah.
Well, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have become the face of Cuties, and people are too lazy to watch the movie and too lazy to watch my review, and yet everybody has so much to say, and that's another frustrating thing, because the movie is very nuanced and my review is also nuanced, and all of that is lost in the commentary slam party. So I think if we're going to talk about Cuties, I think you should watch it.
Okay, well, I'm willing to talk about other things. I think we've said a lot.
But I am not. I only like talking about Cuties. No, that's okay. We can talk about something else. What do you want to talk about?
You have a very interesting past, and when I was first interesting you, I was looking at the engaging your comment section. That's when I realized that there were people who were fans of yours, and I was found that...
You thought that everybody hated me?
Yeah, but I realized over time that like people really, I guess, resonated with you, and just
I think
you express yourself, I guess.
There's a weird way where commentary channels will make it seem like it's very obvious that everyone hates me, and I'm a horrible person, and that would be obvious to anyone, and I should just stop. I feel like that's like a very normal like take on my content.
Yeah, but it's more nuanced than that.
Yeah.
I'm willing to acknowledge that, because I see the response to a lot of your videos.
Yeah, a lot of people like my videos. That's nice.
But you also say some shocking things, and I learned, I don't want to get this wrong. When you were either in high school or college, you wrote like a newspaper.
Both.
Did you?
I had a newsletter in both high school and college.
Yeah. So, do you want to talk about that?
Sure, whatever you want. You're just saying, should I just start talking about it right now?
Yeah, because I mean, to me, that's like the origins of this whole thing. That's how we really got started. So, I mean, what made you want to do that?
Well, I started writing short stories and handing them out in the lunchroom when I was in like third grade, and I was basically copying Stephen King's like writing style. I would say that is really where it started. Like the joy of handing a 8-year-old girl a story about some woman getting her head ripped off by a zombie while she's trying to eat her lunch, and just watching her face as she reads it is a really special thing.
Would you say you like shocking people then? Do you like showing them disturbing things? Is that a fair thing to say?
No, I don't think so. Because if you look at my channel, most of my videos are actually quite like moderate and not shocking, and very just like reasonable, I think. I think so. I'm not saying things just to be shocking. The Cuties review is not intended to be shocking.
I believe you, yeah.
So that's another misconception, is that people don't seem to understand that I understand that you think it's weird what I'm saying, but I don't think it's weird. And if I saw someone else saying it, I wouldn't be shocked by it at all.
Because in your head, that's normal to you. That makes sense to you, right?
I would even say factually it is normal. Like statistically, I have a degree in psychology, so like research wise, I would say it is something that we all know. Like the hyper vigilance of Americans in saying that they are only attracted to people it is legal to be attracted to is a lie. That's not true.
So would you say that everyone else feels the same way as you, they're just not expressing those opinions, or do you think?
No, I think that's a little extreme to say everyone else is that. I don't think everybody is the same. But do you think that this is a good hypothetical? Do you think if there were a porn site that opened up in a country where they were like, or say the United States decided it's actually legal for 16-year-olds to be in porn, or 15-year-olds, and a new porn site opened up where it was the first porn site to feature 15-year-olds, do you think that porn site would get a lot of traffic?
I'm not gonna lie. I think that there are definitely people out there who would be interested, but I think that that's a problem. I think that's bad.
No, just a question of see. This is what I'm saying is people,
I don't think it's
and you're doing it right now. People are not able to talk about the reality of something without inserting their own assertion of normality. So I'm saying if you were say you're a betting man, and your goal was to make money and you were going to invest, do you think that this new 15 to 17-year-old actors only porn site would be a good financial investment if it was going to be the only one in its opening like tomorrow?
Assuming it was legal and I put all my morals out the door?
Yeah.
If we're looking purely from a financial stand base, I know there would be a devoted subset of people. So I guess
it's not a subset. It would be a tsunami of people. A tsunami, right? Like it would be. This is why we have consent laws.
Okay.
If people didn't want to fuck 16-year-olds, we wouldn't make it against the law. I mean, in my home state in Massachusetts, you can fuck 16-year-olds. It is legal. And most states.
But it's also like, just because the law is there, I mean, people can question just because something was law doesn't necessarily make it right.
That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the commonality of wanting to fuck minors. Is that a common thing or a not common thing? Would you let an 11-year-old girl go to a park by herself at night?
Probably not, because it's not safe. So no.
Why? But why is it not safe? Because it is common for people to sexualize children.
Yeah.
It's common. It happens all the time. I mean, in denying this, you're denying child abuse.
Well, I don't believe I'm denying that. Maybe it seemed like that, but I mean, when I was 15,
When you
I
say,
remember being messaged by a lot of older men, and that was interesting.
do you think that those old men are a tiny subset? Like, I would say it's a subset of adults who will actually message a child, and then a smaller
Yeah.
subset of adults who will actually abuse a child. But the number of adults who would have a fleeting thought that they are attracted to someone under 18, I would say is nearly everybody.
But I think that the majority of people, and maybe we can agree on this, they realize that someone is under 18. They realize, oh, this person's so young. I don't feel comfortable talking
That's
to this
not what
person.
we're talking about. You're changing the subject. The subject is, how common is it for adults to be attracted to children under 18?
Assuming the person like dresses up and looks like an adult.
No,
Probably.
just how commonly does it happen?
I mean,
it happens commonly enough.
Common.
Well, again, it doesn't matter if it's fortunate or not. But my whole point is that there is this delusion that seemingly shared by everybody, but only online, only on social media, that 99% of adults are not capable of being attracted to someone it is not legal to be attracted to. To the point where they will call a 19-year-old a pedophile for sexting with a 17-year-old.
Yeah, no, I see. I don't agree with that at all. I mean, those ages it doesn't matter.
I'm not talking about the morality. I'm talking about the delusional nature of the idea that being able to hold both of these ideas. Lots of children are being abused all the time by adults. It's super common, super frequent. If someone tells you they're sexually abused by an adult, you're not shocked at all. Okay?
Yeah.
You think it's normal. It's actually normal and quite common to be abused by an adult. Right?
No.
Okay.
true.
So if it's normal to be abused by an adult, in the sense that it is common and frequent, for every child who gets abused by an adult, there must also be an adult who abuses a child. And for every adult who actually abuses a child, there's probably 100 adults who thought about it. So it is exceedingly common. It's not just like a subset. And if it were made legal to look at child porn, yes, there would be holdouts who think, oh, I don't want to participate in this because she's 15. I think that'd be the
majority of people. I think there would be people, but I don't think the majority of people would suddenly be like, oh, I'm going to start doing this now just because it's legal. I don't think that's how...
So you think that all those people who are flocking, millions of people who are flocking to sites that tout themselves as having barely legal models, you think those people, if they said, oh, actually this model is not legal, she's 17 and a half, she's not 18, they would say,
would be okay with it, but I think a lot of people...
Again, I'm not talking about what people are okay with or morality. You cannot control what you are turned on by.
But there's a lot of people who gravitate to those kinds of websites and those kinds of people who are just kind of like teeting the edge of what's, I guess, allowed. But there's also people who don't do that.
I'm talking about involuntary sexual attraction.
Right, and I think that there are people who do.
You keep. Everybody has that. All sexual attraction is involuntary.
Right, but people are attracted to different things.
Yes, but you keep bringing up the morality, and again, if this is what I'm talking about, what you're doing is a microcosm of what I think the entire internet is doing, which is saying I have to present myself as normal and moral. That is a given, and then from there, then I will talk about my opinions through that filter. But there are certain topics where it is not possible to do that. And this is one of them. So you can say it's very common to be abused. It's common. You could say, oh, I'm 14 and I went with my friend. I snuck into a bar. Guys were hitting on me all night. No one is going to say, well, that's a weird thing to say. So you think everyone's a pedophile? That's insane. Don't say that. That's fine to say. But if you say, I went to a bar and there was a 14-year-old there and I hit on her. I didn't realize she was 14, but she was really attractive. And then finding out she was 14 afterward, this is a really weird experience, but I still think she's hot, but I know I shouldn't hit on her. Then people will say you're a pedophile and we should get you fired and deplatformed. Even though both people are basically saying the same thing. Both saying the commonality is there. And I really think that denying this is not good for kids. I don't think it helps them. You're throwing kids under the bus to make yourselves look more normal.
I also think that there were like 12-year-olds in this movie, right? I think even like the average adult wouldn't look at a 12-year-old. They would say, "Oh my God, that's a child. Why are people like doing?" I think they think that's weird. I don't think they would be.
We're not talking.
You know,
I'm not saying the average adult is attracted to 12-year-olds as a general rule. I'm saying it's common enough that if your 12-year-old daughter says, "Hey, I want to wear a thong to the beach," or "I want to wear a bikini,"
well, you would say no because there are people out there who, yeah, I understand that.
If you're not because there are people, but because there are a lot of people. If your daughter is going to the beach and she's 12 and has pubic hair, people are going to stare at her and have a reaction to her. Whereas if your 2-year-old daughter says, "I want to get naked at the beach," you have no reaction to that. And there is a reason. Because being sexually attracted to a 2-year-old while it happens is pretty uncommon. You don't feel the need to protect 2-year-olds from most people. Most people, you feel
out there, but yeah,
there are, but for generally, you don't think like, oh, if my 2-year-old daughter's running around naked on the beach, people are fantasizing about her. Mostly, like maybe some people are going to look and say like, oh, it's a naked person, but you're not worrying that it's stirring up feelings in other people. If your 12-year-old daughter is walking around naked, 12-year-olds can have like boobs and periods and stuff, or 11-year-olds can't. Like if your 12-year-old daughter is walking around naked on the beach, you would be keenly aware that it is likely to produce some type of reaction in the adults in the area. And that may be very uncomfortable for you to admit. Clearly, I mean, I get death threats just for acknowledging this. So I know it's uncomfortable for lots of people to admit, but it's a fact. So all this is to say, the point of the Cuties review and my commentary now and since then is not to say that I know everyone is secretly thinking this.
Okay, well, it's good to clarify that.
It's that people openly think this. They just won't admit it.
Okay.
It is openly acknowledged that a 12-year-old child should not be naked in front of a bunch of adults, unless they want to get ogled, or unless the parents want them to be like, yeah, at a nudist colony or something. Maybe it's more desexualized, but generally, I would say. You're saying 12 is an example that's too young to think this, and like, no. 12 is when parents start saying, hey, actually, you can't wear makeup. Hey, you can't just sit in a chair like that with your legs up and your like dress flying open. You can do that when you're 8, because again, there's a drop off. It's less likely that someone's going to be staring at you. But when you're 12, like I would say that is actually about the time when most people are telling their kids like, yeah, okay, you're starting to get into murky waters with how you're like presenting yourself.
But what I would say about your review that you posted, a lot of people look at that and they basically talked about these people who have these feelings. They see you as openly admitting that, and a lot of people will watch your video and think this is the kind of person we have to be careful about. Does that make sense to you? Why people would get that reaction? Or would you disagree?
No, I mean, in the review, I literally say, have you watched the review?
Yeah, I've watched it.
Okay, so you know that I say that we need to protect children from being sexualized and abused in the video.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you on that, but there are some other things.
So you're asking me if I understand why people think that they need to protect their kids from somebody who's saying that we need to protect kids from child abuse? Like, not really. No. So the defining feature of child abuse is not that you were able to look at a child in a sexual way. That's not that being attracted to people does not make you rape them.
Well,
right?
I mean, why would you put out a video on the internet saying that you are like attracted to these people? Why would you choose to do that?
Well, hang on. That's a different question. I want to answer your first question.
Okay, totally fine.
There's an assumption that like if I'm hanging out with like a friend and like his girlfriend, and I think she's attractive, and he gets up and like goes to the bathroom and we're alone for a few minutes, I can stop myself from raping her, right? Like it's not like that. It's literally the same as the like look what she was wearing defense when someone rapes somebody and then you say what was she wearing. That you should be able to be attracted to somebody or have an urge to hit somebody or an urge to whatever, steal something without actually doing it.
But didn't you admit in a video to raping somebody? Wasn't that the thing you said?
I admitted to no, not really. I admitted to going off of physical and nonverbal cues in a sexual situation that contradicted verbal cues, and was talking about how complex consent is, and that there are times when people say yes, but they clearly mean no, like if they're shaking and afraid.
Yeah.
Sometimes when people say no and they clearly mean yes, and that if the two symbols or signals are contradicting each other, and you go with one and ignore the other, you're rolling the dice. It's a kind of risky situation, but at the same time, there's always going to be some kind of conflicting signal even within yourself.
But
So
sorry.
So the video is not about me confessing to rape. The video is about how all sex contains some element of non-consent, and that we have to be hyper vigilant about understanding those conflicting feelings in ourselves and each other, and basically that yes and no are not really a substitute for true empathy.
I understand that consent is a lot more nuanced than people think, and I think that's definitely a conversation to have. But in the video, you say that she says no, but she had this look in her eye. So I think that's pretty much what you said, and clarify me if I'm wrong about that.
Well, I don't really want to rehash the
Okay,
like if you want to play a clip of it, we can play a clip of it.
She holds perfectly still and says, "I'm not ready." Clear as day, no mistaking her meaning. She doesn't consent. But she has this look in her eye, like she's daring me to just push it in. Like I'm some kind of pussy if I don't. I could have been imagining that, but I grabbed her shoulders and pushed her down onto my dick. Did she like that I did that? I think so. She probably had mixed feelings about it. Was it rape? Yes! She told me not to, and I did it anyway. That makes it rape. Did the cops show up later? No, it's rape. But I don't feel bad about it.
But no, it's not that I don't want to talk about it. It's that when you're throwing multiple, like, the stuff I talk about requires a lot of trust from the audience, and my audience trusts me.
Okay.
It's not that they trust me not to be a rapist, or they trust me not to be a child molester or whatever. It's that they trust me to take us into murky waters and to be very frank about exactly what I'm talking about, and saying, like, this is something that happened to me, this is something I experienced, this is something I thought about, that normal YouTubers will not talk about, because it can be taken out of context, and then people say, oh, that guy's a rapist, he confessed to rape.
Yeah.
Clearly, what the video is doing is saying, we need to deconstruct our ideas about, or we don't need to, I'm going to deconstruct our ideas about consent and about rape, and to tell you a story that could be interpreted as rape, but if you look at the context and the like emotions of the people in the story and the what happened after the story, you can see that it's clearly not actually rape, and like no jury and the planet would convict me of rape. So it's not. No, it's not. I don't think it's rape. My criticism was not of myself committing rape. It was that our definition of rape, especially our internet definition of rape, just like our internet definition of pedophilia, is bizarrely unnuanced and makes no sense.
I think there is some truth to what you're saying in a sense that when people talk about controversial issues, I think that there is a need to jump to, like people don't want to have conversations about certain things. People don't want to hear perspectives from things they believe strongly in.
Well,
I do agree in that sense.
people want there to be a strong dividing line between I'm a normal person and I'm a pedophile. I'm a nice normal person and I'm a rapist. And a lot of my content serves to blur those lines. And people think I'm blurring the lines because I want to normalize those behaviors. But that's not true. I want to normalize introspection. That the whole point is to say, you might think that because every girl you've ever fucked said yes, that you're not a rapist. That may not actually be true. There may
100%,
be, there may be. I know, yeah, but if you look at the internet definition of consent, it's just she says yes, then you're good. But
yeah,
I'm
no,
saying
it's more complex than that.
it's infinitely complex. There's no set of rules you can make that will exclude all rape. There's always going to be some subtle threat you can make, or some subtle coercion that not just men, but men and women can make of each other. Women can make of women, whatever. Any pairing, any power differential that is unspoken or not, that neither party is aware of, that all sex contains and can contain some element of coercion and being forced. So like people who are really not ready to have these conversations, and I feel like you're straddling the line where it's like, you know what I'm saying, but you're like, but didn't you also confess to rape? And I find that a bit dishonest. I don't think you think I am a rapist. I just don't believe that.
I just remember watching the video for the first time, and it was something really shocking to me.
Yeah, but in what context did you watch it?
I was just watching your videos. I think I found a link to it somewhere. It was off your channel.
I know, but that's what I'm saying is if you're primed to be like, okay, I want to see how much of a psycho piece of shit this guy really is, you're going to have a different reaction to it than if your friend comes to you and is like, wow, this guy has really opened my mind. Like if someone says like, hey, I had this really confusing situation with my ex, and then I watched this video and it made me realize I had been raped. And I'm rethinking this situation in a way that I never thought about, because I did say yes, but now I'm looking back on it, and I'm not saying I want to press charges against him. I'm not saying like he deliberately did it, but I'm saying I was coerced, and I had never thought about it that way. Like you're gonna watch the video in a different way, I think, if that's your introduction to it. And it's like 99% of new people who come to my channel are there to watch the freak show of like, to see a truly evil piece of shit burn at the stake while the crowds cheer. And it's like, it's really, I don't think
you're an evil person. I really don't.
It's fine if you do. I'm just saying that
no, I think you're a human being, and I think maybe certain things in your life have led you down your path, and I think
that just means that's just the same as you saying I'm evil. That's fine. That's fine if you think that. My point is that the context and nuance, I think, matter a lot. And when you say things like, didn't you admit to rape, you're priming your audience to interpret a video that is decisively anti-rape in a completely wrong way. And it's just the exact kind of like sensationalized shit that Creepshow is doing.
Yeah, and honestly, the whole Creepshow thing, I mean, that's a whole other conversation. The stuff she was exposed for was awful. I know she's made videos about you in the past.
But the things she says in the videos are similar to the things you're asking me. So no, I didn't admit to rape. That's not what I'm saying, or that's not the point.
I think that you are against rape, and I think that that's very clear talking to you. And I think that that's clear even in the video, that you're against it. And I think that's a good thing. So, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I think it's normal in a sense to have like things in the past that have happened with you that you have like a different perspective, I guess, when you're older. So I wouldn't want anything to like happen because of something you did, how many years ago. I don't think that like that's not what I'm saying. I think
know.
it's
My
interesting that
problem
you're
with
so
what you're
open.
saying. Yes, that's yes. So that is interesting, and like you'd ask the question of why do I do this to myself? That's a good question, but when it feels like you're not going to be able to have an honest, open conversation with me on video and come off as normal yourself.
Okay.
It's not possible. You're going to be put in the situation of having to constantly distance yourself from things I'm saying, even if you agree with them. Because the whole point of my content is like, or we can just talk about safer stuff. Like if you want me to just do like a biographical like rundown of what's happened to me or what I've done.
I find this fascinating. I love to hear your perspective and like because I think you are a very interesting person. So
I understand that, but when you start pushing back on my ideas, seemingly for the purpose of making sure you don't get caught up in passively agreeing to what I'm saying. Like if I say like, yeah, so black people are inferior, right? And so that's why I made that video. Like you're going to have to stop me and be like, well, I don't think that, right? So it feels like you're doing that and it's making it so we cannot actually have a nuanced conversation about some of these ideas.
I'm willing to try to be as nuanced as I can. And
you're gonna have to get dirty.
Okay. We'll try that out.
Okay. So what would you like to talk about?
I think when it came to that, I think we're good. I remember seeing a video about you, and I was going to bring this up, so it's funny that you mentioned it. You were talking about race, and you were talking about how with your white friends are lying to, I think is the name of the video. And it was like basically how when the N-word is on the tip of your tongue, and how when you're not around, you're thinking these super racist things, and how, oh God, you have like, you say the N-word, and then there's like words worse than the N-word. I think that's something that you said.
Yes. I remember that video.
Yeah, that was something I don't know, I just wanted to see your thoughts about that.
I just wanted to kind of make fun of political correctness and the downside of it. Like political correctness has upsides that like you don't.
I thought your videos weren't satire.
That video is satirical.
Okay.
I would say no. I'm not saying my videos aren't satire. I'm saying the Cuties video is satire.
Okay, that's fair. That's completely fair.
Satirical videos. There's the song about why black people shouldn't vote.
Yeah, I don't think you believe that.
No. And then your white friends are lying to you. There's one called "I'm a YouTuber" or "I'm making fun of YouTubers." That could be satire. There's only a few though. So yeah, that's satirical. I'm just making fun of the feeling of unsafety that I think people of color feel around hyper politically correct people who you would never know. They don't even know if they're racist. So like, how could you know?
And I also acknowledge that there are people who think so much about race and have, like, the people who think that they're like the most anti-racist people out there can have these racist thoughts and not even realize it. I do think that that's a thing that's true, and I do think that that's the thing that happens.
Yeah, and again, you'll see a theme emerging. That's a similar thing to the rape thing, and a similar theme to the Cuties thing, where it's like you may put yourself in this category of I would never sexualize a child. But when you call kids cute and adorable and sweet and stuff, like you may be objectifying, or certain ways that you look at and touch them, and same with rape. You may think that because you get the yes, you get that firm yes before you engage in sex, that you are not a coercive person. And I think it's dangerous. I think it's dangerous to label yourself as just like clean and good, because you can do some really fucked up shit without knowing you're doing it.
I think everyone is capable capable of harm. I think everyone is capable of horrendous things, and I think it's important to have these conversations to make sure that you're not doing those things. I can agree to that to a certain extent, but you also mentioned how, like people do call like kids cute and stuff in the same way like people call dogs cute, but they don't want to do anything with their dogs,
I don't call kids cute. I think it's
Well,
weird.
I mean, people do. I do think that that's interesting. I think that's an interesting conversation being had. And I do think that that's weird. If I ever have kids of my own, I don't know if I'd call them cute. Yeah, I kind of agree with you in that sense.
Do you want other people calling them cute?
I mean, here's the thing. If other people, like, I understand that when they say that, they don't mean anything weird by it, so it probably wouldn't bother me that much.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it is weird. I'm not saying, oh, there's the innocent, nice version of objectifying a child where you just think they're a cute little cherub and you want to pinch their cheeks. And then there's the weird version. I'm saying it's all weird. It's weird to tell a child that their value is in how looking at them makes you feel good. That's weird. That's a weird message to send.
Yeah. It is a weird
Right?
message.
Like, and it's as you grow up, people liking to look at you helps you because they would like to fuck you or think about fucking you or maybe being near you. And like everybody knows that, so you dress nice for a job interview. But it is kind of sexual, and to indoctrinate kids with that when they're 3, especially girls, and teach them how to pose cute and look cute and make cute facial expressions when they want to get something, is sending them on a fucking weird path that almost everyone is sent on. Like, I was told I was cute all the time as a kid, and I think it wasn't good for me. I don't think I liked it. I don't even like being complimented now. It's just like, I don't know. It's weird. I just think it's weird to objectify kids. It is literally objectification. You're saying I like the way you look. It's bizarre.
Yeah. And I think it's very interesting that we're having these conversations because, I mean, this is a whole different side to you. And, I mean, maybe you do express these things in your YouTube videos, but...
I do. I don't think any of my viewers are gonna, if they see this, are gonna be surprised by anything I'm saying. Yeah. So yeah, objectifying kids, I find it weird. I don't do it. I don't even call my cats cute.
Interesting.
I'm pretty anti-objectification.
So, do
like
you
when people ask me if my girlfriend's hot, or like, there's a trainer at the gym I used to work at. Every like I got a roommate and he was like, "So is she hot? What's she look like?" I was just like, I don't want to talk to you about this. It's fucking weird. Why are you? You can decide for yourself if you ever meet her. Just fuck off. I don't like it. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
It's interesting, and I think that that's an interesting worldview. I think a lot of people in society just look at certain things as normal. They don't really ever challenge those thoughts, and it seems to me like you're one of those people who look at those things and think, well, why do we actually think this? You're
Right.
I think you look at the world in a very interesting way.
I try to.
And I think sometimes, that can be a very good thing. And sometimes, well, I think for you, obviously, you appreciate the way you view the world, but, there are certain people online who aren't. But I think that there's a lot more to you than I thought originally. And so that's very interesting. What do you think led you to feel the way that you do? Are there, like, any moments in your life or,
About what?
just like, why did you decide to believe the things that you do? Do you know?
You can't decide what you believe.
You just
Okay,
do?
I don't believe that I don't believe my beliefs are that unique. I think what is unique is my willingness to talk about them.
So then why do you think you are supposed to talk about it? Why do you think?
I think part of it is just the culture I was raised with. I was raised to believe that Prince and Madonna are your idols you should look up to, and then Stephen King, Eminem, all these artists, like, who pushed boundaries and said what was on their mind, even if people hated them for it. So I think I think I was just raised to believe that if people, it's not that I was raised to believe you should actively go out and try to find stuff to say that freaks people out, but more that people being freaked out by something you're saying is not a reason to not say it. We're like, I think my family pretty firmly sent me messages that, like, we're not supposed to tiptoe around. My mother, I remember when I was a kid, or I think that's like a whole family conversation was, and this kind of contradicts what I'm saying, but they were like, think of our family as dragons. And then sometimes when we have company over, they're like rabbits. And if a dragon breathes fire on a rabbit, they really freak out. So sometimes we have to make sure that, you know, we watch what we say around other people or when we're over at other people's houses. And I was kind of just like, well, if I'm a dragon and I'm surrounded by rabbits, I'm going to fucking roast all these rabbits. I don't give a shit. So I definitely didn't heed that message, but it felt like that was a kind of corrective move on their part to try to undo what they had already done, which was to just make me feel like it's not my responsibility to walk on eggshells.
Yeah, and it's funny because when you were talking earlier, it reminded me of like a lot of things like LGBT people believe, like on how, you know, be yourself, you know, and these people don't really care about what the world thinks around them because they view the world as like backwards and, you know, that people are not allowed to express themselves in some way.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, my mother's gay. So I think part of that also is just like, your parents are divorced, your mother's gay, you grew up listening to Prince and Madonna, so like I didn't want to. I don't want to be closeted. That sounds terrible.
Yeah, I guess that is true. I mean, I wouldn't want to be anything other than authentic myself. I'm actually a trans woman. I don't know if you know that, but that is, you know, I guess I mentioned in a few videos on my channel, but obviously I'm not expecting you to watch my videos.
I would have as a you know, as a research, but I think we set this up like yesterday or something.
Yeah, so. No, it's totally fine. What I was gonna say is another thing I wanted to ask you about is you've had some interesting views about trans people.
Yes, that's been another thing people have been upset about.
As a trans woman, kind of upsets me, but I want to hear your perspective about it. Like, do you not think I'm legitimate?
What do you mean by legitimate?
You don't see me as a woman. Or do you?
As literally a woman? Like, do I think that you definitionally are indistinguishable from any other woman? That I think it comes down to semantics of what woman means to me and what it means to you, maybe. Also, I want to say I'm a little hesitant. Like, we can talk about this, but I think that discussing my philosophy or beliefs about gender with someone who I know it has to be a pretty loaded subject. I guess it's loaded for everybody, but probably extra loaded for you. I don't think we can pretend that it's just a intellectual conversation, right? Like it means a lot. So I think if we're going to proceed, it should be with that acknowledgement that, like, this, you know, is a loaded topic for at least you.
I can acknowledge that.
Okay. So I think that yes, I disagree with the idea that trans women are literally women, because I disagree with the idea of what women are.
So what do you think women are?
I think the definition I'm settling on is XX.
So chromosomes.
Yeah.
Why? Why do you think that?
I wouldn't even say I think it. I would just say Okay, so that definition of woman in liberal spheres has been sort of eclipsed by some other more progressive definitions, right? But that is a definition that some people have. Would you agree on that?
I think that there are people on the internet who believe that. I can acknowledge that. I don't agree with those people, but I know
Well, I
there are
know.
people who believe that.
Obviously, you don't agree. Okay, so the question isn't really like why. Like I'm not choosing to believe that. That is just the definition that resonates the most with me. And so I can tell you why, but I don't want it to come across like I'm telling you that I guess that I'm choosing to believe that any more than any of us choose our worldviews.
I can share my personal experience if that's something you're interested in, or we can, I guess, move on from this.
Whatever you want.
Okay. I guess for me and my experience, and the reason I feel like I'm a woman despite being trans, when I was 2 years old, I told my parents that I'm a girl. And I remember we went to a lot of like specific doctors and stuff, and they all said like, oh, it's just a phase, you're going to grow out of it, whatever, right? But then I got older and like these feelings were still there for me, but I couldn't really feel like I could express them. So I kind of just had to like keep it to myself. And then I was like 12 years old and the feelings really got like worse. But I was 14 years old, and that's when I came out as female. And to me, I've always just felt like, and I know a lot of trans people particularly disagree with this, but maybe I just have like a female brain or certain things. I can't really explain it. Like gender identity is an interesting thing, but in my body, I just feel like I'm a woman. And I've always felt that way. And so for me, transitioning was never like, it wasn't really a second thought. I just knew that that's what I was. So I knew that that's what I had to do. I went on hormones. You know, I grew out my hair, certain other things about myself. And I've just lived as a woman ever since. And it's just felt right with me. I've never was happy before, and I'm very happy with myself right now. And that's my own personal experience. But if you feel a certain way, like I've heard a lot of, you know, horrible things about being trans. So anything you say wouldn't really shock me.
I'm not afraid of shocking you.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't want to upset you. It's that I want to acknowledge that this conversation could upset you.
Totally. I understand.
So if you're asking how I still believe what I believe despite you experiencing what you experienced,
I guess
how do I sort of like
I guess
reconcile the two?
Your beliefs, I guess, would imply that mine are faulty or that my experience is wrong in some way, and I feel like that is a contradiction. And I guess
I think that
why do you think you're right and I'm wrong?
I'm glad you asked. No, I think there's a difference between an experience and a belief, I guess. I'm not saying you're wrong about how you feel. I'm more saying that I don't agree with what you think it all means, or the way that you're categorizing things. Like, so to me, if gender is an experience and an identity and a feeling, then it's disconnected from sex.
Yeah, well, gender and sex are two different things in my mind.
Yeah, so if you're right, but but we talk about them as so I was raised to believe they're truly disconnected. So to me, growing up, there's no such thing as feeling like a man or feeling like a woman. Neither makes sense, because everyone has their own individual experience and feelings that are wait, you just disappeared. Okay, you're back.
Sorry, my mom called me. I'll talk to her later, but yeah.
You don't want to get her in here?
No. We'll just finish this conversation.
Okay.
So if my video disappears, I'm just texting my mom, so just ignore that.
Gotcha. So I was never raised to believe that, like, my experience of being a man, I would imagine, is very different from like Donald Trump Jr.'s experience of being a man, right? To call us both the same gender is sort of weird, because we behave completely differently. Our interpretations of what a man should be like or should do are completely different, I would say, for the most part. I just think everyone has their own gender. That your own experience of your body, I would say that's kind of like my definition of gender. Your experience of what it's like to be in your body, and with a little slant of like as a man or woman or however you present. I was just not raised with that sort of attachment to my gender, that I could feel that I'm in the right body or the wrong body. So that's my experience is different. And then definitionally, I don't think it makes sense to say that to join the two. I think it makes more sense to say you have your experience of how you feel, and then you have your physical body you were born with.
I guess for me, it's like when I see myself as a woman, if that makes sense. Like when I think of my body, I think obviously I'd be much happier in a female body that feels more right to me. There's just certain ways that like women look that like obviously that's how I see myself and how I am.
Yeah, and so I think one thing is that's particularly for trans people, I think that's a very sensitive thing. I think that having people tell you that you are not what you feel like or not what you see when you see yourself is a pretty upsetting experience, I would say, for most trans people and for most people in general. Like, for people, I think most people see their bodies slightly differently from how other people see them, and most people wish their bodies were different from how they are. Not even most people, I'd say almost everybody. There's very few days in the week where I wake up and I'm like, this is exactly the body I want. There's always some discomfort. So I don't think that that's too unique to trans people. And I just don't agree that the solution to that is to, I guess, rope in the like biological or scientific definition of woman and say that if you feel a certain way, then you are. But I see a utility to doing that. It's not that I'm not like a conservative about this. Like, I'm not gonna say that like God made men and women and like what the fuck are you doing trying to switch? That's also completely antithetical to my beliefs. I would say my belief is that everybody is non-binary, and that trying to put yourself in one of these two boxes, whether it's the same box people think you should be in or the opposite box, I kind of disagree with both sides on this.
And to me, I would disagree, because I do acknowledge that, especially on leftist circles, there's a lot of people who do want to dismantle the idea of gender altogether. And obviously, as someone who's very attached to gender, the concept of gender myself, the trans woman, I would disagree with that. I do believe in gender, and I do believe in gender existing. I just don't think that biological sex means that you have to be like, again, I can say that as a trans woman, just because I was born a certain way doesn't mean that I'm not a woman. You know, I know very much that I am, so it doesn't, you know, I don't believe that.
And I don't believe gender exists.
I would disagree with you, obviously, but
I know. I think it's like a religion to me. And so, like, I'm not going to argue with a religious person. I mean, like, I guess I will, but I'm not saying like, oh, you shouldn't be Jewish or you shouldn't be Christian or Muslim or whatever. Like, you know, see the world however you want. But like, I'm an atheist. I'm a gender atheist. I was raised to believe it doesn't exist, and I still believe it.
The thing, though, is if gender doesn't exist, I guess that's also implying that trans people don't exist. And in my experience, that just isn't true for me.
Well, do you think God exists?
I mean, when I think scientifically, no, but I also want to have that belief. But I think that's something different.
But just as a shorthand, do you think God exists?
In a scientific way, no. But I think people are happy.
Do you think Jewish people exist?
Yeah, of course.
Are they invalid? Because they believe something, but they believe in a big fake sky fairy, right? Like,
I also don't think that that's like a valid comparison, because gender is very much a real thing.
To you,
stemming from a very real, in my opinion, it stems from brains.
well, what do you
Brains
think?
are what
What do you
determine
think
gender,
a
and
Christian?
they're
What do you
real
think a
thing.
Christian is going to say if you say a Christian will say, "No, God is literally real. God is a very real thing. I have texts proving that God is real. There's tons of evidence proving that Jesus is the Son of God."
I think it's a different. I understand what you're trying to get at, but I do think that it's different.
Do you think that Christians believe that Jesus is literally the Son of God?
Of course, yeah.
Do you feel? See, this is. I think that I'm actually working on a video about this, about gender and
Okay.
transgender issues. One thing I want to impart in the video is that I can not believe the same things as a Christian without telling them that I hate them or that they are wrong or lost or delusional. And I think that trans people have gotten the message. Most people telling you that they don't agree with your view of gender also hate you and are very uncomfortable with you. The people who I think are not hateful and who are more comfortable, but who just probably don't agree, I don't think speak up as much. I think it is more socially acceptable in a far right conservative circle to say just be very dismissive of trans people. And I want there to be a way to have a more nuanced conversation, and hopefully like the one we're having now, where I'm telling you I just don't believe the same thing as you. It doesn't mean that doesn't mean I don't think you're valid or that you exist any more than it means that I don't think like Jews exist. Like they exist. I just don't believe the same things they do. And I don't believe the same. I mean, people are going to get mad and say that I'm Jewish because I'm half Jewish by blood. I don't identify with it. I don't believe the same things as Jews, Christians, Muslims, libertarians, like but trans people want to be accepted as a medical and biological reality rather than as people who see things a certain way.
Well, I think that I think the medical consensus is that trans people exist and that they're valid, but that's not what I'm talking about here, because I understand like people have been wrong about certain things in the past. So I mean, my opinion to this obviously is, as a trans woman, when I was 2 years old, I knew that I was a girl. Like my whole life, I've just known it to me.
I don't
So
think
it's
gay
something
people
that's
exist.
so. Really? I mean, don't you have like a gay mother?
A gay mother who fucked my father for 20 years. I mean,
So do you think that everyone's bisexual? Is that your opinion, or what do you think?
I think that over the course of your life, you will fuck a certain number of people. And if on your deathbed, you want to tally up those people and sort them into genders and then assign a word to whatever number you come up with, you go right the fuck ahead. But basically, I think it is kind of pointless. Unless you're labeling yourself for the purpose of signaling to people like what you're looking for. And so I think there's some validity in that, although you could just say like, I am looking for a man, or I'm looking for a woman, or I'm looking for whatever thing you want. The concept that that's an identity, I think, is stupid. If you don't believe in gender, you can't believe in sexual orientation. I don't believe in it either.
Interesting.
And there's a medical consensus that gay people exist, but I don't believe that.
Well, I'm
or straight people.
Well, yeah, that would imply that too. So
yeah,
but there's definitely people who believe that way. I know you're not the only one.
No, I'm not. But you can see that it's very similar to all my other beliefs. Is that you can't say this is rape, this is not rape. You can't say this is pedophilia, this is not pedophilia. This is a man, this is a woman, this is straight, this is gay. I just have a very I'm pretty anti-label. I don't believe in like ADHD or like bipolar disorder.
So you don't believe that those things exist as well?
They're labels that are useful for describing trends and behavior and experiences, but they don't actually exist. No.
So you would say that like people with ADHD, no one really has that, or like what would your opinion be on those people then? That they're valid. It's not.
I would say so. Like lately, I've been thinking of myself as someone with ADHD, as it's helped me to understand a lot of things that I've struggled with, and helped me to come up with a new way to approach my life of like writing more things down and trying to schedule my time better and understanding like just my relationships with like tasks and completing them and why I tend to like get super disorganized and blah blah. I don't literally think I have it, even if I probably could get diagnosed with it also. But even if I did, I wouldn't think it's literally a thing I have. It's not like a physical, actual thing. It's just an idea. Somebody made it up.
It's somebody. I think it's a brain pattern or something like that.
It's a pattern
that causes you to think a certain way. I think it's a very scientific and real thing.
I know that you think this way. I just don't. I just don't agree with that. It's a pattern.
What would you say?
Some person made up the name and said, "Okay, if we see this, we're going to call it this."
Okay, but that thing is definitely real.
No, it's a thing that it'd be like if I just like saw a cloud that was a certain shape, and I'm like, "That's a Max cloud." And then anytime I see
the language of that cloud.
That's what I'm saying is that all of this stuff is talking about language.
Yeah, but like the thing that causes it.
Rape is a linguistic invention. It's an idea. It doesn't literally exist. We, as a group of people, are constantly defining what it is and how we talk about it and how we think about it. Yeah. I could say that's a Max cloud, and any cloud that's that shape, I'm going to say is a Max cloud. Is it actually? Like, I guess if I can get enough people to agree and publish a book, it's called the Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Clouds, and then we can all say, "Oh, that's a Max cloud." Then I guess it is. But like, it's not really. It's just it's a concept, just like gender, race.
But in the case of ADHD, the concept is revolved around things that are factually true. Like these people factually act a certain way. So it's not. I don't think that's really like an opinion. I don't think having ADHD.
How's the cloud not a factual shape? I could literally set parameters and say if the cloud looks like a triangle like this,
the cloud does look that way, and it's a fact. But calling it a Max cloud is an opinion.
What's the difference between that and the person who made up the name ADHD?
I guess what I'm trying to say is like
you understand ADHD, somebody literally sat down at a typewriter and said, "Okay,
we could call something else. It'd be the same thing. It'd be like calling COVID-19 coronavirus, same thing, different names. That's like it'd still be the same thing."
No, it's not, because the pattern, the coronavirus copies itself. And every coronavirus, every COVID-19 virus or SARS-CoV-2 virus is identical to every other virus. They're all almost exactly the same on a microscopic level. So they literally, this one is literally the same as this one, as almost as far as we can tell. And there's some mutations, but they are basically identical. Right. My ADHD and someone else's ADHD and someone else's could all present completely differently. And so, like, the symptoms of COVID-19 are variable, but the thing itself that causes it is not really. That really does, like, literally physically
so maybe it's more
exist.
Complex than that. I guess you could say maybe you could maybe in some other culture you could say that ADHD is actually like 2 or 3 different diagnoses, or you could argue that like, oh, this presents in a different way. I guess I understand what you're saying, but there is definitely still a very real thing causing it. There is definitely, regardless of what you call it.
It's
a real thing that exists.
I have a lot of problems with that. Even the idea that it's caused is like, well, maybe school's just fucking boring. Like, maybe if school wasn't so fucking horrible and our jobs were not so boring, people wouldn't be getting diagnosed with ADHD. Like, maybe
I kind of agree with that.
Make a textbook that I don't have to take fucking pills to be able to read. Because like people with ADHD can read other stuff sometimes. They're like, it's like it's often like your performance in school is lacking. So rather than think maybe school needs to change, we're going to figure out how you need to change. And I'm not saying like I understand people have a wide variety of experiences, but for something to be a disorder, like being gay used to be a disorder, right? And then it turned out that actually labeling as a disorder doesn't make sense, because the reason it's a disorder is that people hate gay people. What if we just address that part, and then gay people don't have to like change? The rest of us can change. And I sort of think the same thing about trans people. Like,
trans isn't a disorder.
No, but like, what if the problem is not so much that people feel like they're in the wrong body, but it's that the rest of us are imposing something or pushing something onto people, particularly trans people, that makes them feel bad.
It's awful living as a trans woman, and people are just so
right.
But
and
I live.
Yes, but I guess I'm saying that like I understand how my sort of like label-free view can be dismissive, especially to you, because I
understand your perspective. I personally don't agree, but I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, I think that the label-free perspective that I have also allows for some critical thinking about systems that are in place, that because being trans and saying like, oh, I'm actually a woman, and so now I'm a woman, I'm going to live as a woman, is not very challenging to the system.
I don't want it to be challenging.
I know.
My identity isn't trying to challenge anything. I just want to be a woman that exists in the world that we currently exist in.
Exactly. But you see that I'm very different from you, right? In that regard.
Yeah.
My identity is challenging. I do not want to put myself in a box. That's almost what this entire argument, semi-argument we've been having has been about.
Mm-hmm.
That I see people labeling themselves as normal, as fitting into boxes, and I'm constantly trying to take away the boxes and push them out into the cold air and say like, if you don't like that society rejects you because of who you are, then you have to fight and change society. And I understand that not everybody wants to do that all the time. And I think a lot of trans people feel that way, the way you do, where they're just like, I just want to be left alone. I don't want my body.
There's a lot of trans people who feel like you though too. I'm not like there are. I think there are a lot of people watch this and agree with you and not me, but I'm personally not that way.
I would say the loudest trans people are probably more like me, because the ones who are more likely to be speaking out do want to use their kind of like body and identity as like a wrecking ball to sort of like challenge and take down structures. But
that's not my intention.
No, you just want to like exist.
I just want to exist and have people not be transphobic to me for existing.
Yes. Well, so I obviously want that for you as well. So
yeah,
I'm just going to have a different approach. Maybe the opposite.
I mean, I'd also prefer if people were like, yeah, you're a woman, like, yeah, you're just as valid as any other woman, but it doesn't seem like you feel that way.
I don't, but I will also tell you that if a female at birth woman says to me, so like I know my biology is that I'm XX, so you think I'm a woman, but do you also think that I am like actually a woman on the inside? I'm going to say no. I don't believe in gender. It's not just you. It's not just trans. I don't just trot out the I don't believe in gender thing for only trans people so I can tell them that they're wrong and not valid. I'm saying like I literally don't think my girlfriend on the inside is any more of a woman than me. I think her physical being, her biology is that she's female because her gender or her chromosomes are XX, and that's it. I don't think there's anything more to it. I think she's been socialized to be girly by society, and she's rejected
all of that. To be girly, and I I think I'm pretty feminine.
Oh yeah, okay. So a combination of biology and sociology and environment, whatever, has led her to be generally what we expect to be girly for the most part. Sort of. I don't know. She's kind of androgynous, whatever. But bad example. But my point is that like if what I call men and women, I don't think that their gender matches up with their body. I just don't believe in it.
Okay, well, to me, that sounds very reminiscent of what trans exclusionary radical feminists say. I'm not saying that that's what you believe, but
I
it
agree.
provides a lot of the talking points.
I agree with TERFs for the most part, except they seem a lot of their desire to exclude trans people seems to come from them just hating men and hating progressives and hating trans people.
And it bothers me because I'm not a man, so I don't understand why that goes. Like, if you want to hate men, but why hate trans women? That doesn't make sense to me.
Because they think trans women are men.
Well, yeah, that's the problem.
I don't think that is the problem. I think the hate is the problem. I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, no, I'm going to be honest. I hate, like, I'm not a feminist. I'm not a TERF, obviously. I believe in trans. I'm a trans woman. Mm-hmm. I don't believe that women should be hating men. I don't think that that's a good reproductive thing. I think that's a problem, too. And I don't think men should be hating women. I think it goes both ways.
I would say that is the main problem with TERFs is that they are hateful. I would say that their beliefs. I think there's that. I mean, you and I seem to be getting along fine. I don't think that the difference in our beliefs about gender would prove to be much of a roadblock between us being like friends or friendly or being able to be civil with each other or live we could be neighbors and live harmoniously.
Exactly. I'm not going to be angry at you or anything. We have a different perspective.
I mean, it's fine.
I don't agree with you.
Even if you are angry at me, that's fine. Like, but hate. I think that a lot of.
I don't hate you as a person.
I know. That's what I'm saying. So I think a lot of the anti-TERF sentiment is not so much because of what they believe; it's because of the hate that often follows it, and then people assume if you say like, "Well, I don't think trans women are actually women," that there's a flood of hate that is also about to come out of your mouth. Yeah. So I would like to kind of destigmatize my deconstructive view of gender, and that I disagree with most things that most people say about gender. So I am working on a video about that.
We'll definitely watch it. I probably will disagree, but like I said, that doesn't really change. Mm-hmm.
Most people will disagree.
Well, you have a lot of fans who will probably agree with you.
I don't know. I don't know how much my fans actually agree with me on stuff.
Yeah. I guess that's a conversation you have to have.
I mean, we do. Well, I would say a lot of the top comments I get are like, as a Trump supporter, I respect your take on this, even though I don't agree with you, stuff like that, which is nice.
I think it's because a lot of conservatives tend to, because you don't sound like to me like a conservative. I don't know what you are, and I'm not going to put you in a box. You probably don't believe in political boxes either, based on what you've said. I could be wrong, but I think
I've never voted for a Republican president. I can tell you that.
Well, I think the reason why you probably have Republican viewers is because I think a lot of conservatives are more like you in the sense purely of expressing controversial views publicly. A lot of liberal people don't really do that. So I think they attach to you because of that, and then they hear your like liberal side and they don't really agree with you on that, but they agree with you on like, being controversial or saying things that other people don't agree with. Or
that's possible. I also think conservatives are a lot more tolerant of people with different views than them. Mm-hmm. Like, I have some liberal friends who will watch like Ben Shapiro and stuff, but for the most part, like when I post videos in different subreddits, I'm banned from like all the liberal ones.
But not
usually,
the conservative one.
no, the conservative ones will ban me if they think I'm lying to them and they think I'm trying to astroturf and like trick them. But yeah, liberals will ban you pretty
easier.
Yeah, pretty immediately.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm not sure why that is.
Okay. Let's see how long we've been. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about? I mean, it's a very interesting discussion we've had. I think we covered a lot of things, but
Just that it's weird. It's weird being portrayed as pro rape, pro child abuse, pro racism, pro mass shooting.
that's not how you see yourself at all, huh?
Are you making an analogy? Are you making a trans analogy right there?
No, actually, I wasn't. I was just saying it's probably weird to have this view of yourself and have a bunch of people, I guess, in your mind, take you out of context when that's not really how you feel about certain things.
Do you think it's just in my mind? I think it's actually happening. I think most people who actually watch my videos are like, oh, like most are outwardly surprised. I don't think it's like just my view of myself. I feel like it's I don't even think it's about me really. I feel like there's just a weird anti-nuance oversimplification thing happening that it's not the boundaries of the format. It's not like YouTube used to be 10 minutes or less, and it's for years it's not been like that, but it's still how people think.
I see hour-long videos on YouTube all the time now. Like this.
I've seen 2-hour-long videos about me where people are watching entire videos that I've made, and still it's still there's still no depth to any of it. I want us to elevate the platform. I think that's my final thought, is that we got to get YouTube to a place where we're not too scared to talk about stuff in complicated ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I will, like I said, I've always supported your right to free speech, your right to, have a platform and express your ideas. Obviously, I'm not going to agree with everything you say, but I did think that this was a very productive conversation, and I learned a lot about you and how you feel about certain things, and I'm very glad that we had this conversation. So thank you for allowing me to interview you about these things.
Of course. It was an honor.
Thank you. It was an honor to have you on too.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Bye.
Chris Hansen here. I have a message for you, Rose Mullet. Thank you for the wonderful entertainment you have provided us with. I'm going to need you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Rose Mullet.
Warning, very sad. Why don't I have 1 million subs yet? This isn't fair, give me subs. If you wanted sandwiches, you could have just asked. Or you could subscribe to Rose Mullet's channel. I think I'll take the sandwiches.